Welcome back to the Hurley Pro Trestles. We are seeing some huge results play out here on day 3. We're about to see another great heat go down. Julian Wilson will take on Alex Ribeiro for a place in the 3rd round. Ronnie Blakey here with Ross Williams. Shifting our attention now to Julian Wilson. Another one of our top seeds who finds himself in this 2nd round. And he had this wave during the break.
Just take a look at the old textbook rail surfing right here from Julian, professor of carves, and great flow. How is that? Seamless right into that tail slide, so a really solid finishing maneuver from Julian. And that will get the judges' attention. That's more like it from Alex Ribeiro. Some explosion, a little excitement right there on that snap, throwing some spray in that first move. So something that's been missing just a little bit from Alex Ribeiro this year. He's had a rough one. That is a pretty good start. That might even be better than Julian's first wave. So we'll see if Alex can fire it up.
Great to have your company for day 3 of the Hurley Pro Trestles. We've got round 2 unfolding with the 2nd heat of the round out there in the lineup with Alex Ribeiro currently sitting in 38th position on the Jeep leaderboard.
I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously never been in his position going for a title, being way up there, and I'm sure he's disappointed. And I mean, I'm stoked. I have no pressure. I'm not on tour this year, so it's kind of like, but you still feel it. You still feel the nerves, and I guess that's what's exciting about it. You just keep coming back. And in the beginning, I was going to my old ways, just catching bad waves and doing dumb things. And I said, hey, calm down and just ride waves. Look at a wave, and if I like it, just go and surf it out. And it worked towards the end. Pretty much in the world. I mean, this is where I kind of grew up getting better, and it's nice to be able to. I feel like it's the hardest place in the world to compete. I don't know what it is, but I have a hard time, but I'm trying to figure it out.
And Brett, you've obviously been watching the event, so what are your thoughts on the world title race at the moment?
Gosh, it's been awesome. Like the beginning of the year with Wilco winning the first 2, it was so.
Yeah, I think that's brutal for Wilco and winning a title. That might be it right there. That's really going to be tough for how consistent Gabriel, Medina, and John have been this year. That's going to be tough to battle back from, but it's not over. And again, I'm impressed with this. I think the equipment is looking good for Alex. He's got just a little more speed carrying through those turns, Ronnie. A little more pop out of that snap. You can see that spark that maybe it's been missing this year. He's found something. He had a great mix of control and power in that first round.
20.5 minutes to go. Alex Ribeiro taking off, eyeing the left. A little caught behind at this stage, and not a lot happening down the line. He's going to get out of there.
It was Wilco. I was talking about handling his losses very well. At that point, he was really frustrated. You could hear it from the water. Really frustrated, slapping the water towards the judges. He wasn't pleased with that result.
We'll come back to you in a moment, Pete, but right now we've got Alex Ribeiro up, and he is throwing the tail and pushing the needle as far as the progression goes in this heat at the moment. It is a bit of an odd one. I actually want to come to this venue, Ross, and I want to see Ayres well rewarded. I think for Brett Simpson, there'll be a little bit of confusion about what his approach is going to be in his next heat. Rather than getting the payoff for that exciting surfing, is he going to be thinking, well, if I just deliver those power hits, I'm going to get a better score than I do if I throw those high-risk turns?
I think so. And first up, and speaking of progression, a nice smooth air reverse from Alex Ribeiro. Trying to mix it up again. There's that speed that's been missing a little bit this year, so I really am liking the surfboard under his feet. And then a second air reverse. So, just watching that wave and talking about, for Pete, we're talking about that what seemingly looked like an excellent score from Brett Simpson. Here's the thing. You look at some of the buzzwords on the criteria. Commitment. When you commit to an air on a section, that's, in my opinion, much more difficult than just a snap. And then also variety. Brett Simpson definitely mixed it up there. He had a handful of different turns on that wave. So that's when, if you're going to hang your hat on some of those flash words on a criteria, that was begging for an excellent score.
Well, here's something positive for those of you that like to see the competitors.
No recovery after those maneuvers. It was seamless. He went straight into a smooth bottom turn, and then he had a nice snap. So he had bookend airs, but I love that he kept his speed through the 2 turns.
And here he goes again, trying to get rid of a 5.83 on this ride. He takes to the air, and he has got that move on lock this morning. Not bad at all. Remember back to earlier on in this heat, 5.83 on the backhand with a couple of nice whipping vertical snaps. But now he's just got that wind in his nostrils, Ross, and he's smelling some good sections down here.
Nice opening carve. So there's the mix, variety. And again, this wind is prime time for airs. Out of the north, it's going to hold the board to their feet. So they're basically going to feel like they're strapped in, especially the goofy footers today. With this left, that's a crazy mix.
On top of the list, 657 plus points. On fire. This guy is going to be helping out those who picked him here at Trestles. Alex Ribeiro has collected a couple of decent numbers now, a 7.27, a 7.6 without priority. Just having a bit of fun.
There's no one's immune to falling. It happens every now and then. So if you corner yourself time-wise, you can't make mistakes. Again, there's that wind that's just perfect for airs right now.
We'll get set. Here goes Julian Wilson in response to Alex Ribeiro, who's taken the lead. And Julian goes on the attack, drifting that tail. I'm kind of thinking back to the final at Margaret River. Julian had that more conservative approach in this heat now. Just keep to the rail. He's going to have to take to the air. Alex Ribeiro here in the second round, leading Julian Wilson at the Hurley Pro Trestles, stop number 8 on the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. We have already seen one major upset in the first heat of round 2. Brett Simpson getting the jump on the current world number 2, Matt Wilkinson. So Wilco out and in real danger of sliding down the Jeep leaderboard rankings. Still a couple of surfers in the mix, already through to the third round, just behind him in Gabriel Medina and Adrian Buchan. 10.5 minutes to go here as we see Julian Wilson's last ride.
You can see he definitely was picking up on the fact that wave was a little slopey. It wasn't going to produce a long wall, so he had to go to town quick.
Having a look at this one, Alex can't really do too much. Julian's got that priority. And this looks like a sweet wall as the Queenslander drives through a really nice first turn, up into the lip now. Has incredible variety that he can count on these long walls. And he's been mixing things up nicely, but that air was always going to be tough to land. The wind not really favouring the forehand moves for Julian at the moment. Alex, he's just got a short ride there, so that's a couple of cracks at that 7.87 for Julian now, and unsuccessful on both accounts.
Yeah, that's Julian not really, concentrating on what he needs to do to win this heat. I think he was trying to absolutely tear that wave apart. So he has to be careful. He was knocking on a door of a high 7 or maybe even an 8-point ride. And instead, he really tried to throw the kitchen sink at that last move, going for an air reverse. Look at all the speed Julian has. So great flow. I will say, in his defense, he didn't have that one explosive move, so maybe he felt like, hey, if I'm going to get a score that's going to count in my top 2, I got to go big on this last move. But
there's a very high implication of what's happening for Wilco. These are world title heats, and it's slipping away every one that he loses.
Yeah, an intense situation for Wilkinson. We'll check in on him and see what his thoughts are, maybe after that chat with the judges. But we're watching Julian Wilson now, and he is on the lookout for a 7.87. Despite Alex's lead, Julian's still in this heat, mixing things up pretty nicely there. And did that wave, Ross? Did it have enough magic to turn this heat?
I absolutely loved it. That was one of those carves that felt like he had an unreasonable amount of speed. It looked like he got whipped in by a jet ski. And that's one of my favorite things about Julian surfing is he holds that rail for so long in the water. It's not normal. Right there, you can see that arc is much wider than your average tour surfer. And what's difficult to do, why that's difficult, is because normally you need an absurd amount of speed to be able to hold that line. And Julian just has that amazing ability to hold that carve, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look real. Again, it looks like he got help from jet ski or something. So that's a lot of power. That's classic surfing. Now, is it going to wow the judges compared to what Alex has been doing? It's very different. So it's up to the judges how they're going to compare that carve with what Alex has been doing with those airs.
Well, just over 5 minutes to go, and there's been plenty of highlights in this heat. Julian's been strong on the forehand, as is Alex. Alex has been picking off the lefts and throwing down some nice airs. Let's dive into some of the highlights.
Yeah, and so I think Julian has really been sticking to his brand of surfing, which is smooth rail power wraps. And very impressive on these right-handers. And you know, it's been right out of the gates. You know, it looked like, okay, Julian's going to really take control of this heat. We haven't seen much of Alex this year, and then boom! I think this wind is what did it, Ronnie. This wind really inspired Alex. He's like, you know what? I'm pretty good in here, and it inspired him to surf his best all year.
Pretty strong performance so far, isn't it? And it really has put some pressure on Julian. We've seen him fall a couple of times. This was his best wave, the 7.6, and really controlled on the landing.
How good was that air? That was not your token air. That was the landing was what made that air so difficult. Right into lip line, and then he just spun it around without a hitch.
Well, this is very interesting for Julian Wilson. His last wave came through at a 7.83. He needed just a little bit more to turn the heat. And Julian's going to keep fighting. Doesn't quite get into this one. Nothing lost there, though. He doesn't have priority. And there is a couple of lines approaching here. He's going to get another shot at the required number. We'll see if Alex Ribeiro can make life more difficult with this wave. Driving up into the lip. Sends up a nice fan of spray. There's a more high impact maneuver as he drives up into the lip once again, gets that turn wrong. Now Julian's going to get his opportunity. 1 minute remaining. And he's not going to bank on that wave. So he'll paddle back out and hope that there's another line in this set. 30 seconds remaining. Here's the replay of Alex's last wave. It's not going to go into his top two.
Again, I'm loving the way this board is looking for Alex. That was a really nice snap through a ton of spray, but it left the door open with that mishap right there.
Well, this heat's coming to an end. There is just 10 seconds to go, and this is a huge upset result. I don't think too many people would have bet against Julian Wilson when you looked at this heat on paper, and he looks pretty baffled out there at the moment, just trying to process what has actually unfolded. Alex Ribeiro with a very strong performance on the forehand into that air wind, a 7.27 and a 7.6 gets the job done.